FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland may as well be renamed to the Field of Possibility because everything is still on the table for the Dallas Cowboys entering the final week of the NFL regular season as we welcome you in to Cowboys Pregame Live. It's the Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. Here from the Star in Frisco, Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, a trio of former Cowboys. I'm Kyle Yeoman, soon to be joined by Haley Sutton. And then live from FedEx Field, we've got Nick Eatman on the site as well. Gentlemen, it is the final week of the regular season. Week 18 is here. The division still up for grabs in the NFC East. Top seed in the NFC also still up for grabs for the Dallas Cowboys. They need some things to go their way. Here's a look at the NFC playoff picture as it stands entering the final week of the regular season. The Cowboys currently sitting at the 5 seed. They would then travel to Tampa Bay and take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week should nothing change. However, they can be the 2 seed with an NFC East opponent loss, with Philly going down today and a win against Washington. And if both Philly and San Francisco lose, Dallas wins, they would get the divisional bye and go off into the second round of the NFL playoffs. But guys, as you look at everything in front of you, how does Dallas keep their eyes on what matters most? You got to get the first domino to fall if anything else is going to fall your way.
Without a doubt, this is a huge game for the Dallas Cowboys. We all know what's at stake. They need a little bit of help to get that first overall seed and even that NFC East title. But to me, these players don't need to focus on any of that, all right? They need to focus on the task at hand, which is the Washington Commanders. Offensively, focus on playing mistake-free football, not turning the ball over. Defensively, focus on that pass rush, make sure they're trending in the right direction heading into the playoffs. So if I'm a player, I'm focusing on those things, let the rest of itself play itself out.
Barry just hit on it, y'all. It's all about setting yourself up for the playoffs. The reality is you're going to think about the playoffs.
Yeah.
You can't help but think about the playoffs. That's what matters most, okay? You need to win this ball game, but you're trying to set the foundational pillars for going forward. And the reality is these guys have not been playing great ball up to date over the last few weeks. So they need to get things right on offense. They need to stop turning the ball over. Defensively, been at the bottom of the league in terms of yards given up every game. So some of those things you need to patch up and get some duct tape on that thing before you start even thinking about next week's ball game.
And I'm with you there. I'm with you all the way, Isaiah. You got to take care of your offensive line. We got some movement in our offensive line. We got players moving around. We got to find some consistency with our offensive line. And we do have to patch up that defensive line. Everybody that come in today, you got to play 100% so you'll be on the same page and play cohesively.
That's a huge point for this Cowboys team entering this final week, because if they're not playing their best football, what does it matter who you take on in the first round of the playoffs? The Cowboys want to make a run. They've got to get it right in their own right. However, 12 wins again, a chance for 13, which would tie a franchise record. Nate, how much credit does Mike McCarthy and this coaching staff deserve for back-to-back 12-win seasons? Even if they fall today against Washington, 2 great regular seasons, you got to have some playoff success, though. Right?
Man, I love it, Kyle. I love Coach McCarthy. I speak with him quite frequently when I see him out in the hall, ask him how he's doing, how his dental and his mentals are doing, because this guy's been through it. It seems like every mistake falls on his shoulder, but he brought in a great coach in Quinn, and they've prospered. Now he's helped this guy Kellen Moore be the best he can be. I'm loving Coach McCarthy 100% with me.
He's done a great job, and he put a lot of doubters that made them relatively quiet over this year. A lot of people last year were saying it doesn't really matter unless he wins the Super Bowl this year if he's going to be able to retain his job, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. But for his legacy and what he's trying to establish here in Dallas, he needs to win in the playoffs. So he needs to take care of today, set his team up for success, and then let's talk about this 4-game run that he could possibly go on.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Isaiah. When you look at it, McCarthy has done a great job of turning this locker room and this team into kind of a winning environment. And we all understand what he brings to the table. But you are 100% right when you talk about this. If he's not able to translate those regular season wins into playoff wins, I don't care. 12 back-to-back seasons, that's a great accomplishment. But if that doesn't translate to playoff wins, I'm sorry, but these will fall on deaf ears.
So, Isaiah, you mentioned setting your team up for success. Getting a win today against Washington would help, because who knows what happens outside of it in that 325 slot. Philly and San Francisco both playing at the same time Dallas does. But if you set yourself up for success, you get out on top early, could have an opportunity to rest some guys. Who's up toward the top of that list? If you decide to maybe give some guys a breather, who would it be?
I'm going straight to the guys that you can't live without, and that's going to be your quarterback, right? You're going to talk about Dak Prescott. You're going to think about, Zach Martin. You're going to think about the Tyron Smiths, right? You can't, even though he was trying to get his feet back underneath him, I think he's one of the guys that you need to be able to rest. So then you go on the other side of things, so you got to think about defensive guys, Micah Parsons, D. Law. Some of these guys are these foundational guys that you just can't afford to lose them, and if they did, do you have anybody else that can come in and replace them? Let those guys rest.
Well, if it's up to me, I'm not resting anybody, all right? I understand. Unless you're dealing with some type of injury, injury, I'm not resting anybody, because if you're truly going out there to try to win this football game and try to improve your playoff seeding, it's all hands on deck. So to me, outside of injuries, everybody put their best foot forward. Let's try to get this W, and let's try to go into the playoffs the right way.
There it is. Amen to the church, bro. 'Cause you know what? We should have him bring it back his segment, church service, because he's saying what it is. Isaiah, love you to death, but baby, it's time to play ball, and it's time to get ready for the playoffs today.
So we saw this last year, but it was a completely different scenario. You had already wrapped up the division. Right. Your seed was locked in. Really nothing could come of a win against Philadelphia. You still got to rest some guys, got to at least get to a breather. It provides a bit of a debate, because then you went on, you didn't play well in the first round. So it does have some benefits. It also has its downside to it as well. So keep that in mind. There's a benefit, though, of going to the playoffs. You know why?
Why is that?
You know why? Because next week, and take this as an official announcement, we're going to be where the action is next week. No matter what happens today, if the Cowboys are at home, if they somehow come out on top and they win the NFC East, we're going to be at AT&T Stadium for Cowboys pregame live and postgame coverage as well. If they end up going to Tampa Bay and play on the road in their first game, we will be at the official Cowboys watch party, which will be happening either out here at the Star in Frisco in the Tostitos Championship Plaza or at AT&T Stadium in the Miller Lighthouse. So no matter what happens, we're going to be out there with the fans next week. We're going to take things out of studio. For some fun.
It's a win-win scenario for me.
It should be a whole lot of fun. Excited for that. More info to come on DallasCowboys.com. But let's hear from Mike McCarthy, head coach, who, again, first since Barry Switzer to go to 12 wins in back-to-back seasons since 1994 and 1995. But he says, you know what? No matter what happens, we've got to win the game today.
Well, we want to win the game. Yeah, I mean, you can't go into the game and think you're going to shift gears. You know, of course, I just thinking just from principle alone. So we're going to do everything we can to win this game.
Also, Sam Howell might play a little bit for them. What do you remember about him coming out?
Obviously, super productive. You know, North Carolina. I think, you know, the guys I always really appreciate, because I think that they transfer to our league so much better. You know, it's the instinct and awareness over talent. And I think definitely he's in that category. I thought he was extremely instinctive, aware, and accurate with the football.
You said you wanted to win the game. 13 wins will tie a franchise record for wins in the season. Something like that important? Is that number important?
Important to who? Me? I'm trying to be. I don't want to be ignorant here, but you know, I think anytime you can say you've done something that aligns with the franchise, that's a huge compliment. You know, especially the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, talk about the greatness and of the teams and individuals before us. So I don't want to, you know, play that down. But I know, and I'll just speak for myself personally. I mean, I'm looking at bigger things. So, but you know, the focus is tight to get that 13th win. And but you know, we put ourselves in a position where we, you know, want to be, and that's you know, playing for a division championship and you know, all those things. And we just want to come out of this game with a win, healthy, and get ready for these playoffs.
Mike McCarthy's Cowboys getting set to take on the Washington Commanders out in Landover, Maryland, and at FedEx Field, where we are now joined by Nick Eatman live on the sidelines. Nick, first off, welcome back into a new year. Oh, I see the hands. Okay, you're ready to play out there on the sideline. The Cowboys might go deep might go deep into their roster, so you might be needing a call at some point. But what's been the message for Mike McCarthy this week?
Win.
Throughout.
Go win the game. I mean, just got to win this game. And I think that, you know, on one hand, it's probably a good thing. You want to rest them guys. I mean, of course, if you had that luxury knowing that you're probably going to have to play next week. But, you know, on the other hand, it's probably better that's like, hey, go out there, win. There's no, well, are we going to scoreboard watch here and there? I mean, you're able to keep it crisp. This team hasn't been that good when they have some time off, some lengthy breaks. Dak especially, they're coming off of some time off. So I think it's probably better to, hey, go out there, win this game, gives you some confidence. You know, there was a game, I think it was 2018, where they played the Giants on the road, and it was like, should they even be playing? And they went and won the game by 36-35, and I think it kind of elevated them, and especially Dak, into the playoffs. So there's circumstances both ways here, but I think it's probably better to, you know, be crisp, go out there and win this game.
You mentioned Dak Prescott now up to 14 interceptions on the season. How does he get back on track with just one game left in the regular season to make sure that when playoff time comes around, he's as sharp as he ever has been?
You know, and as cliche as this is what makes Dak who he is. And, you know, when you've dealt with the things he's dealt with in his life, you've been at the bottom. I'm talking about personal life. That an interception here or there doesn't face him. He can block that out. Now, on one hand, you want that to be, hey, don't worry about it, just focus and play. But on the other, it's like, listen, you've got to be smart with the ball, smart on who you're throwing it to, where you're throwing it. So let's keep the volleyball game to a minimum, because I'm telling you, this team has been the best volleyball team in the world, just setting and of course the digs. You know, I mean, this is a really good volleyball team, and so. He's got to make sure, you know, throw the ball the right way, make sure it's a catchable pass. But I think his mental toughness is so good that he doesn't. I don't think he lets it linger. Sometimes it's a bad thing, but for the most part, it's a good thing.
So last year in Week 18, the Cowboys saw touchdown scores from Corey Clements and Jaquan Hardy. Who are some of the guys under the radar today that could see some playing time with it being the final week of the year and hopefully trying to give some guys a rest if the Cowboys get out on top early?
I mean, obviously, you look at those running backs, like you said, you know, Malik Davis, who could probably get a little bit there, and Turpin's always trying to take one in. But you know, I think for the most part, I can see those tight ends, those rookie tight ends, kind of getting a lot of work and maybe you find the end zone as well. Kind of an interesting stat. If Peyton Hendershot or Jake Ferguson score a touchdown, they'll both have 3, so they're sitting at 2. Right now, the only time in the Cowboys history that anybody's had 3 touchdowns or more, 6 different guys. It's never happened. It's had 5 guys, and they're sitting at 5 right now. So they're looking for that 6th one. That just shows that Dak and Cooper Rush has done a good job of spreading the ball around.
Nick Eatman joining us from FedEx Field live on the sidelines. Nick, thanks so much. We'll check back in with you later in the show. Time to take a look at the inactive list as the Cowboys get ready to face the Washington Commanders. We've got Nate Newton back here in studio, 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champ. Here is the inactive list. Will Grier, Jalen Tolbert, 2 names we've seen on this list quite a bit. Israel Mukuamu at the safety spot because Tyler Coyle actually got elevated from the practice squad this week. It looks like Coyle will see some time, and Israel Mukuamu will get some time off. Tyler Biadasz, of course, injured in that Thursday Night Football matchup against the Tennessee Titans. Leighton Vander Esch back in practice this week, but out for the game. This was something that was anticipated. And then Quentin Bohanna as well. So there's the inactives. Anything stick out to you, Nate?
Biadasz, man. This offensive line was trying to gel, trying to get everybody back. With us bringing Tyron Smith back a couple of weeks ago, and for this to happen, that is a big hit. Now we got to make 3 moves to get 1 done. We sliding everybody down 1 and bringing Peterson in at the left tackle. That is a big blow. We need to stay clean. We need to stay consistent, and we need to play hard so Dak can have a chance to excel.
So let's talk about that. They had to make the switch in game to have the offensive line at least make it through the matchup with Tennessee, with Tyler Biadasz going down late. You liked the move. Can that be something sustainable should he not be ready for the wild card round?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. As long as these guys, you guys heard me say this all year. I believe in consistency. I believe in finding the 5 best guys that you think are ready to play and playing them together as many snaps as they can get together. And if we can do that right there, starting with this Commanders game, it'll go a long ways in helping us during the playoffs.
What'd you think about seeing Jason Peters and Tyler Smith out there on the left side, both sliding down a little bit? Peters going back to left tackle where he's been comfortable. Tyler Smith back at guard where he was in training camp.
You know what? I think Tyler Smith is a better left tackle, but he's physical enough to get inside. He's going to be dealing with Deron Payne. Jonathan Allen is out today, but he's going to be dealing with Deron Payne. Mm-hmm. So that's more experience. That's more toughness you have to play against. Be technique sound, son, and believe in what you've worked on all week.
I had the opportunity of talking with Connor McGovern and Matt Farniok earlier in the week and kind of asked them how comfortable are they at playing center. Matt Farniok, he's opened his 21-day practice window coming back from an injury. He should be available within the next 2 weeks. weeks for the Dallas Cowboys. Whereas Connor McGovern, he said, I played center all the way through my college days, going back and forth between guard and center. He is very comfortable being in the interior of that offensive line, and we saw that against Tennessee. Also, for some extra help at the center position, Dakota Shepley was elevated from the practice squad. Now, there are multiple guys trying to work their way back, and having some reinforcements going into the playoffs is always a good thing. Who out of Leighton Vander Esch, Tyler Biadasz, even Jonathan Hankins on the defensive side of the football could make the biggest impact if they are back and healthy? I
think first is Tyler Biadasz, because you need your offense rolling at 100% because our defense has been kind of shady. The next, we need Hankins because he can stop the run. And then we need Leighton Vander Esch so he can tell everybody on the back end and connect it to the front end. So that's just the priority that I have for these guys.
That's kind of shocking to hear Leighton Vander Esch third on that list. He's played exceptional football throughout the season. Why is he on the number third one on that list?
Because Leighton needs Hankins. Because if Hankins ain't eating up blocks, then he got to deal with big 300- and 400-pound linemen. If we got Hankins up front eating up blocks, then Leighton can run and do whatever he want to do, and it makes him a better player. Now he's making tackles for 2- and 3-yard gains, and that's keeping it below the league average versus having to tackle people 4 and 5 yards down the field, and that's way above the league average.
Do you think just with the addition of those 3 guys into the playoffs, potentially for the wild card round, is that enough to find the identity again of that defense that's been struggling, and then maybe even the ground game with Ezekiel Elliott and company as well?
Because if you stop the run, you throw them in disarray. And what you now is, instead of having 3rd and 4 or less, and they can throw our pass coming at it, now you got 3rd and 7 or more, or 2nd and long. And if you got that right there, then you can unleash them beasts. But if any other way, you can unleash the beast.
That was the identity of this team early in the season, was, of course, running the football with Zeke, with Tony Pollard, but also the run defense, or even just the front 7. We'll leave it at that, at trying to get up there and stop the run and then get after the quarterback. Both Jonathan Hankins and Tyler Biadasz could help that out in the trenches. Speaking of Zeke, our very own Haley Sutton had the chance to catch up with him as a part of First and 10 this week. Haley, let's hear about it.
For 7 seasons, Ezekiel Elliott has been running tough and scoring touchdowns for the Dallas Cowboys. And I had the chance to sit down with him in our season finale of First and 10 earlier in the week. We talked about his time with this organization and what he does away from the game of football. When you look back at the journey that you've had so far, do you register that it's been 7 years in the NFL?
Body definitely feels like it's been 7 years, but I mean, they always say time flies when you're having fun. I've been having a lot of fun here, and you know, a lot of relationships I've made, and you know, I'm having fun, still having fun. I got a lot left in the tank.
I know you've talked as well about, you know, getting to the playoffs isn't really an accomplishment for this team anymore because you guys have done that before. You have your sights set on a Super Bowl. When you look at the guys that you have in your locker room this year, what makes this group special?
I would say how deep this team is. I mean, you look at this roster, and I mean, we got so much depth at a lot of different positions, and I mean, what it takes, you know, to win down the long road is you need that depth, because, you know, guys get beat up, guys get banged up, and you got to have that next man up mentality. And when there's not much of a fall off between your first and second string guys, you know, that's tough on the opposing teams.
Coach Pete says that he calls you the Hammer and he calls Tony the Sword. Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell me about the nicknames.
So I'm the Hammer. I'm gonna smash him, and you know, Tony come in, he slice him up.
Have you ever been in a system like this where you've worked so in tandem with another player and it's been as effective as you guys have been this year?
You know, this is kind of somewhat new to me the past couple of years with you know, TP, you know, earning a larger role. You know, I was used to always being the bell cow, and just touching the ball all the time. But I mean, right now, I wouldn't say there was a year where I felt fresher at this time of the year. And I mean, that's just a testament of just, you know, TP and myself splitting those carries. And I mean, I think we do work very well as a tandem, and we're both, you know, fresh going into the playoffs, and that's what's important.
I've spent this year getting to know you a little bit better, and one of the things that has stood out to me is you're an animal lover. You've got a couple of pets at home. I want to talk about the doggies first because I also am a dog mom. Tell me about your doggies at home.
Yeah, I have a Frenchie Juice. He's 2, and then I have an English Bulldog. He's 5. His name is Deuce. And then I have a snake.
Houston dudes.
My snake, I have a ball python, and he's about 8 months, and his name is Mr. Snake.
Yeah, I want to get into that because almost every single person I've sat down with this year, your teammates are terrified of snakes. When I ask them what their biggest fear is, they say snakes. How did you decide I'm going to get a pet python?
I've always been kind of interested. I love all animals, and so I kind of wanted to get something different. I was thinking of cat, but I was allergic to cats.
I am too.
But snakes are pretty easy. They're pretty. You just gotta feed them once a week, clean their cage every couple weeks, water. You know what I mean, and play with them a couple of times a week. But they're pretty easy to. They're pretty easy pets.
How do you play with the snake?
Well, you gotta hang out with them, take him out the cage. He likes to you gotta give him some type of stimulant other than the cage. You can't be in the cage the whole life, so he likes to kind of play in the covers and kind of slither around.
Ezekiel Elliott looking for his 10th straight game with a rushing score. He's also knocking on the door of 1,000 yards here in the regular season finale. So a couple of things we're paying attention to, but I'll send things over to you guys back at the desk.
Thank you very much, Haley. And you can catch that entire interview between Haley and Ezekiel Elliott on DallasCowboys.com and the Cowboys social channels. Back here with Nate Newton, Barry Church, and Isaiah Stanback. And where has the ground game gone for the Dallas Cowboys? Didn't have Tony Pollard last week against the Tennessee Titans, but even going back 3 weeks now, the Cowboys have averaged 118 yards per game. That's good enough for 21st in the league. And this was a team that was top 10 in rushing offense going into the final 3 regular season games. Nate, where is the ground game gone, and how do they get it back prior to playoffs?
Just getting a healthy offensive line, number one. And then, finding that groove between Zeke and the young Tony Pollard again. We missed him last week with a little hip deal there. So get those 2 guys back going, get your offensive line settled down, and just, call a few more plays. I don't believe in the run game as much in the playoff as I do during the season.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. Through this long season, Kellen Moore has definitely earned my trust as far as sticking with the ground game. We all know that's the formula for success. If you keep this offense balanced, you'll let Dak Prescott do what he does best, and that's play action pass. So I'm sure they'll ramp this thing up as we get into the playoffs, but I'm not too concerned with that thunder and lightning combo with Zeke and Tony Pollard.
I'm on board with you guys. You guys see 118.7 yards per game. I'm good with that.
Yep.
Give me 118, give me 120 yards per game on the ground, and we're perfectly fine as long as we don't turn the ball over.
That could help things out, but also your offensive line staying stagnant up front could help out as well. How much does that play a factor into the numbers in the latter parts of the year?
It's huge. We're talking about continuity. I know we're talking about the rushing game, but you talk about this offense and how many sacks they've given up over the last 6 games as well. I think we're sitting around 15 sacks or so over the last 5 games, so last 5 or 6 games. So that's something that they have to shore up. But if anybody knows anything about it, it's going to be Big Nate Dogg.
It's definitely Big Nate Dogg. We're talking about an offensive line, so I'm going to go ahead and let Nate answer that question.
The thing about it is it all directly links to your quarterback and having him comfortable, not having happy feet, not throwing off the back leg, being able to be accurate and stepping into the pass. That's what it's all about. Offensive line, we're a service group. We're here for you.
Dak Prescott showed up to FedEx Field today with a hat on, and it said, "Linemen lead the way." That's what it said on the hat. So, he knows as much as anybody that linemen lead the way, just like Nate Newton leads the way on the set. All right. We've got a new segment here on Cowboys Pregame Live. We're going to debut this for the first time. It's a little will they, won't they. So I'm going to give you 5 different topics. I want you to tell me, will it happen or will it not happen this week for the Cowboys? And it all has to do with some stats and not incentive-based like you hear about the NFL at this point, but this is just pure milestone-based. And we're going to stick with Tony Pollard to start. He is 12 yards away from hitting 1,000 rushing yards on the season. Barry, I'm going to start with you. Does Tony Pollard get it done today?
Certainly. I think Tony Pollard gets the job done. He's going to be able to rush for at least 12 yards out there. And after the case is done, once you rush for those 12 yards and get that over 1,000-yard mark, make sure you give the ball to Bucky or make sure you give the ball to McCord. They'll make sure it's all wrapped up and nice for you because 1,000 yards, your first 1,000 yards rushing in the season, that's got to mean something for you. Take that ball home with you, big dog.
So it's going to be that hard to get that 12. But anyway, now he's going to get the 12 yards. You probably get about 35 or 40, and just to show everybody that he's back. Hey, congratulations, Tony.
Ding, 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 ding. Kyle, that's going to be a yes. Yeah, he will get the 12 yards. Exactly. I do believe he'll get the 12 yards and more. To Nate's point, hopefully he's able to get that early so they can go ahead and sit him down in preparation for next week.
All right, let's see if we get another ding, 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 ding with Zeke in the backfield. He's 42 yards away from hitting 1,000 from scrimmage this year. Does he get the job done against Washington?
Ding, 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 ding. Yes, Kyle. He will get 1,000 yards. They're gonna ensure that he gets those 1,000 yards simply because of what he's meant to this organization and what he went through last year as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Isaiah. I think he'll definitely reach over this 42-yard mark and add to his already outstanding career. And like you said, I believe he'll get it done before halftime and he can rest and get ready for this playoff run.
Roll, Zeke, roll. I'm rolling with these guys. Roll, Zeke, roll, baby.
Wow.
We'll get it, yes.
So through the first two questions and the first two topics, they've both been, they will get it.
They will. Yeah.
This one might be a little tougher, though. C.D. Lamb, he needs 9 catches to tie the single-season reception record in franchise history. Nate, I'll let you start. Does he get 9 grabs today to tie it? He needs 10 to break it.
As much as I love this guy, as much as he's grown during the year, it's going to be hard to get 9 receptions. They're going to be focusing on him. But being the homer that I am, ding, 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 I'm going with it. Yes, sir, I'm going with it.
Very nice.
I'm with you too, big dog. I think, I'm going to go 3 for 3 right here, and I think CD gets this 9-catch mark. Especially I love how Kellen Moore has been able to use this guy through the latter part of the season, moving him around the formation, having him get work out of the slot. He's become a real headache for opposing defenses out there. So I say he goes out there and gets at least 9 catches in this game.
Absolutely. Okay? He's going to have 3 to 5 catches on the first drive. They're going to force feed this guy absolutely every single time as much as they can to ensure that they can justify paying him what they're going to need to pay him over the next few years. They know that he's the man. There's a big argument of whether or not where he is in this league as a number 1 receiver. So they're going to make sure that Cowboy star is in that conversation.
His performance against Tennessee marked the 3rd time this year that he had over 10 receptions in a game. That's tied for the most in a single season in franchise history, with 3 of those games with Michael Irvin in '95 and Jason Witten in 2010. So it's been too easy. Let's make it even harder. Donovan Wilson at the safety position needs a sack to have the most by a Dallas safety in a single season. He's sitting at 5. He needs to get up to 6 in order to break that record franchise history. We'll start with our fellow safety, Barry Church. Does he get the job done?
Ooh, this one's going to be a tough one.
This is a scheme question more than anything.
This is. Are they going to bring him or are they not? But I got to go with my fellow safety out there. I say he goes out there, gets at least 1 sack out there, and sets the new, record for defensive backs wearing the star, getting sacks out there. I'm with you, Wilson. You're going to get you a sack record here.
I believe that scheme-wise they'll try, but sacks is not as easy as getting a reception.
Oh, no.
So I think scheme-wise Dan Quinn will be aware of this record and try to get him that, but I don't think that's going to happen.
You know what? They got Sam Howell is his name?
That's his quarterback.
Yeah. Blitz. Get him, man. Blitz him. Get him. Fall off the plane with a blitz with number 6. Okay. Fall off the plane, bro.
Okay, speaking about that, getting after Sam Howell at quarterback, maybe blitzing some guys. Micah Parsons, he needs 2 sacks for his 10th career multi-sack game, which would be the most by any NFL defender in his first 2 seasons. Isaiah, can he get it done with 2 sacks again today? It would put him up to 15 on the year.
Can he? Yes. Will he? I don't believe so.
Yeah. I'm with you, Isaiah.
It's kind of a heartbreaker.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie to you.
It kind of hurts a little bit, but I'm with you on that. I don't think he gets 2. I think he gets to Sam Howell at least once, but then they're going to put a lot of attention on this guy, and I just don't see him following through with 2. He'll get 1, though.
And this Sam Howell, right, out of North Carolina, rookie. Ain't took a snap, don't know what a 2 coverage or 1 or a quarter. Man, we going to get this dude. Coming off the bench, get him. Yes.
Yeah, that's.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Is that how we do it? Yes, he
early
will.
in the show here, Nate. Are you
going
after Sam Howell a little
let's don't
bit.
get him a chance.
Okay,
Yeah.
Very nice. All right, let's hear from Micah Parsons himself talking about controlling what you can control heading into the final week of the regular season.
Control what you control. I feel like, we could have been in a better position where it shouldn't have to rely on the downfall of another team. And that's kind of like where I always said, I'm not praying that anybody lose. I'm not praying on no one's downfall. We should have controlled what we did, and we should have finished those games, so it wouldn't matter what they did. It should only matter what we do. So division is what it is, but at the end of the day, it's all one race to the tournament, to the trophy. So
wherever we at, we should be able to win those games, and that's just where my mentality is at. I always say, it's a track meet, you get 7 lanes. Doesn't matter if you got 1 through 7. It's only the race to the finish line, and that's all that matters, right?
Eagles and you guys playing at the same time, are you guys going to be asking anyone on the sidelines what the scores are? Are you guys just going to play through the whistle and see where it lands in the locker room?
Yeah, play through the whistle. Our focus should be beating Washington. You see these teams are focused on, next week or this week. If we don't finish what we got to do this week, what does it matter what the Eagles do? So I think everyone's focus should be on Washington.
So Micah Parsons in that defense has allowed right around 420 yards per game over the last couple of weeks. That's 31st in the NFL, bottom 2. What's happened with this defense, and how do they get their identity back?
Well, they got to find a way. They got to find a way to get back, because 420 yards, that's just not going to cut it. That screams one and done once you get to the playoffs, because what that says to me is that offenses, they're able to do what they want with your defense, both running the football and passing the football. And it's going to be extremely hard to have success as a defense out there when you can't stop either one of those aspects. So they have to turn this thing around, especially with the playoffs right around the corner, because 420 yards, like I said, Isaiah, that ain't going to cut it.
Yeah, they can't give it up like that, BC. And what it tells me is that this defensive front, when they can't get home, we can't cover. That's what it shows me, because we've struggled. We've shown that we struggle giving up the run. Okay, we give up the run like nobody's business. Okay, that's something that we have not solidified aside from Jonathan Hankins being there to help out. But when we don't get home, teams have an opportunity to either sit back and get the ball out, or they're getting the ball out early and they're getting a lot of yak yardage. Either way, they're moving the changes, and it's equating to a substantial amount of yards.
Cowboys with just 3 sacks in their last 3 games, but where does it start, Isaiah? Is it the pass rush that has to get home, or is it the secondary? Which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, it's that type of question. They both relate to each other. Who has to do it first, though?
I think it's a combination of teams figuring out that they need to get the ball out early and finding ways to quick set our defensive front, and then on the other side of that is we've lost 2 of our top 3 defensive backs. That's the reality of the matter. You lost Jay Lou, you lost Anthony Brown. That hurts. Now you have a Deron Bland that stepped up and made some plays. Nashawn Wright obviously showed up last week, but they're not what those 2 guys were for a long time. So it's very important that we can cover, and that's why I'm always protesting and asking that they pull out the old Al Harris way of things and get up there and put some hands on some guys, because you're not getting that pressure up front. So you need to do something to disrupt the timing of the offense.
Yeah, to me, this is the biggest need that this defense has got to fix. And we talk about being up front. What made this defense so formidable early on in the season was their ability to get home after the pass rusher and affect the passer. When you talk about Micah Parsons all the way down to Dante Fowler, they were able to win their one-on-ones and get home. And like you said, Isaiah, with those injuries that they have in the secondary, it makes that defensive line that much more important, because I'm telling you, if you cannot affect the pass rusher on a consistent basis, the quarterbacks, once you get to the playoffs, they're too good, and they're going to make this defense pay.
That's a big thing for this Cowboys team heading into the playoffs. You have to find a way to get your guys home. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, doesn't matter who it is. You've got to pressure the opposing quarterback, because you're not going to go up against the Sam Howells of the world. Today they will, though. Sam Howell making his first career start for the Washington Commanders, the 5th-round pick out of North Carolina, threw 92 touchdown passes in college. He has not taken a single snap in the NFL. This will be his first opportunity for Washington. So, Barry, I'll ask you as our resident defender, as a defender going up against a quarterback, how do you disrupt him and how do you take his confidence away early?
Well, first, as a defender, I used to hate going against quarterbacks that I had no tape on. Mm-hmm. And, we see this guy, Sam Howell. He is a rookie. He's, very young out there, hasn't really seen a lot of coverages out there. But as a defender, if you don't know his strengths and weaknesses, it's like you're kind of guessing out there. But to me, Dan Quinn, he knows what he's doing. He's going to have to disguise his coverages, because this guy is young, Sam Howell. He hasn't seen all the NFL coverages that they have to display out there. Disguise your coverages. Get home with your defensive line, and maybe you can talk them into throwing a takeaway or 2.
And then, Isaiah, you played the quarterback position back in your day as well. How do you turn around as a young quarterback like this, knowing what's coming? What's the biggest challenge for Sam Howell today?
Execute the game plan.
Yeah.
That is simply it. Just simply do what your coach asks you to do. Don't try to do anything outside of that, because they are going to set you up for success. It doesn't matter what your team is going to be doing next week, which is going to be sitting at home for the Washington Commanders. All right, this is your opportunity to put out some good film and some good tape, because everybody's auditioning every single week. That includes you. That includes the offensive coordinator who's calling the plays. Go out there, execute your plays. We don't necessarily want you to, but that's what your game plan is going into this game.
So going from the most inexperienced quarterback in the NFL and Sam Howell here in Week 18 to what the Cowboys could potentially see next week against a wild card opponent. Oh man, it's Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, both of which handed the Cowboys a loss this season. They are both possible Dallas opponents. Now, Green Bay has to win in order to get in. Tampa Bay would have to have Dallas not win the NFC East in order to host the Cowboys next week. So realistically, these are two very formidable opponents in the wild card round for the Cowboys team. So we've got a debate, friendly debate between Isaiah Stanback and Barry Church here. Who would you rather face? I want you to give me a nice little open. I'll let you have a rebuttal too, but we'll let Barry start it.
All right, well, I've had the pleasure or unpleasure of playing against both of these guys in the playoffs, and I've lost against both of these quarterbacks. So give me Aaron Rodgers. I'd rather go against Aaron Rodgers all day over Tom Brady, the GOAT. This guy's a GOAT for a reason, and when he gets to the playoffs, his powers seem to get to a new level. And then you talk about what's around this man. Every single player around him is experienced, and they have success in the playoffs with that experience. They know what it takes like to get to the next level, to get to those big-time games, get to the Super Bowl, and actually win. When you look at Aaron Rodgers on his side, there's no doubt about it. This guy is extremely talented out there, and he has people around him who are also extremely talented, but they're young. They're rookies out there. They haven't been to the playoffs. They haven't been to the pinnacle. The last time Aaron Rodgers made a successful playoff run was 2010. So give me the guy who's inconsistent in the playoffs versus a guy that can be consistently beating down opponents, and that's Tom Brady. I got to go with Aaron Rodgers on this one.
Okay, I respect what you said there, Barry. Okay, I appreciate your open right there, but let me help you understand something else. I played with the guy TB12. I sat in the rooms with him. I understand his psyche a little bit. And this is a what have you done for me lately league. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. So we're not going to talk about how Tom Brady is the GOAT in terms of getting to the Super Bowl. 7 out of 10 rings. Okay, he's done a great job of getting there, taking care of business. Right? He has 5 MVPs, right, over his 23 years. Aaron Rodgers has 4 MVPs over his 18 years. That means that equals out to about 22% of the games that they've played, okay, in terms of them both getting there. All right, that's awesome, MVPs all alone. But let's talk about what's happened lately. Over the last 4 games, okay, Mr. Thomas Brady has a 2-2 record, okay? Aaron Rodgers is 4-0. Over the last 4 games, Tom Brady has 7 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers has 2. Okay, let's go down a little bit more. Okay. Tampa Bay has how many turnovers? 10 turnovers over the last 4 games. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, I think they have 4. Okay, so you start talking about what has the team done lately. How does Dallas win ball games? By getting after the quarterback, right? And trying to make sure that we can rush the ball. Okay, that's what we do. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are averaging 85 yards per game. That's what Tampa Bay's doing. Green Bay's averaging 139 yards on the ground. Not what we want to face, okay? We don't want to face a team in Green Bay that's not turning the ball over and is keeping the ball in their favor by rushing 135 yards per game. We want to face TB12 because as of late, he's had a rough year. Family, right, the league, a lot of things are going against him, right? And they're turning the ball over and they're chucking it in the air all day long. We want to get home. We want to get sacks. We want to take advantage of those turnovers that Tampa Bay has, and we don't want to face Mr. Aaron, who's on a hot streak right now.
I love what you said there. I love all the stats you put out there. But those are regular season stats.
Ooh.
Tell me what Aaron Rodgers has done in the playoffs. Since it's a do what you now lately or what have you done for me lately type league, what has he done in the playoffs these past 2 years? They've had the number 1 seed. They've gotten an exit both times. No substantial long playoff run there. But when you look at the flip side on what Tom Brady has been able to do in the playoffs, we're not talking regular season. We're talking about in the playoffs because this is where we're going to play both of these quarterbacks.
Facts.
We've seen the difference, and the difference is huge. All right, I love what you're doing with the stats.
I see you there, brother.
But I just got to understand, what has he done in the playoffs lately? And what has the surrounding parts done in the playoffs lately?
I understand what you're saying there, and I respect it again there. But obviously in the Super Bowl, okay, Mr. Thomas Brady is 70% in the Super Bowl. You know who's 100%? Aaron Rodgers.
Tell me what year that was.
So he's 1-0, right?
Tell me what
versus
year that
7-3.
was?
I get it. 1-0 versus 7-3. I get it. But guess what? The percentages are the same. You understand what I'm saying? And we're talking about a Tom Brady who's had a rough year. He's 2-2 over the last 4 games. He's turning hot. He's trying to get hot. Last week, Mike Evans threw for 200-something yards to him. But who's not messing up? Aaron. Had a rough start to the year, and guess what he's been doing ever since then? Going up. And if I remember correctly, we lost to both of these teams this year, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, but when those teams face each other, you know who came out the victor?
Who did?
Green Bay.
Okay, so we've heard both sides of it. It's either way, it's going to be a tough matchup for the Cowboys. I don't know. Nate, come here. Nate, let's see what Judge Nate has in store for this. You've heard from Isaiah. You've heard from Barry. Who would you rather face as our deciding factor?
20 I gave you.
Isaiah, your logic is undeniable.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, you are so spot on. Both these quarterbacks have beaten us at home 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
But you know what? It don't make no sense, bro. Because you know what, Barry?
What's happening?
We need to play your boy, John Wick, Aaron Rodgers at the stadium here at home. So us can get out there and dance. We need to see him. Because I'm telling you, we 8-1 at the crib.
Okay.
Yeah.
8-1. We want these young guys. We got young guys just like Aaron Rodgers has young guys. Let our young guys be comfortable. I'm telling you, boy, you sound so sweet. I mean, you pump it up. You tried to grease me up when I came. Hey, Nate, wait. Nah, that ain't gonna work. I'm gonna take you $20, Barry.
Very nice. Case closed. Nate decides it. All right, Barry, the winner of the nice debate. It was a fun one. Yeah, you put the tablet away. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. All right. Either way, the Cowboys are going to have to play their best football.
Yes.
No doubt about it. They're going to have to continue to show that resilience. And if they play at home, great. They're 8-1 at home. If they go on the road, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder in order to do so against Tampa Bay in the wild card week. Let's hear from Dak Prescott about that resilience and trying to continue to put some of their struggles behind so they're playing their best football late.
I mean, we've got to win. The focus first and foremost is win. Play well, yes, and build momentum. And if we win the division title, that's not necessarily up to us at this point. We just got to go in and take care of our business. But yeah, that would be great. I mean, you don't play the game checking up every quarter to see what that other score is. You got to play and, as I always say, be where your feet are, and being focused and just making sure that we're, as I've said, stacking good things and clean up things from last week and be better this week to make sure that we're hitting this thing full stride.
Regardless of the outcome of Week 18 against the Commanders, you guys are going to finish this season having not suffered a 2-game losing streak. And considering the amount of adversity that you guys have had to overcome, what does that say about the level of resiliency this team has had this season?
Yeah, I mean, that's been our mantra, is resilient. And when something happens, we're just talking about it, right? Get knocked down, but you can stand back up. And that's what resiliency is, and that's us. We got knocked down a couple of times. We got right back up and went and put a performance on the next week, sometimes the best, and then sometimes enough to get the job done. But regardless, at the end of the day, this team's going to fight, and I think it starts at the beginning of the year. Obviously, when I got hurt, Coop came in and stepped in, and just be able to switch running backs out, rotate offensive linemen. Important guys on defense miss time and time again at different times, and guys come in and substitute and do their job. I think that's just the epitome when you see a team that's speaking about resilience, is the things that we've been through this year and have been able to overcome.
So you just heard from Dak Prescott. By the way, he is this year's Cowboys nominee for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award, recognizing NFL players for outstanding service off the field and excellence on the field as well. Dak could earn $25,000 for his Faith Fight Finish Foundation. You can help him by tweeting or retweeting the hashtag WPMOY Challenge, followed by Dak Prescott. So, of course, Dak, who does a great deal of work off of the field, does some good work on the field, but he's had his ups and downs on the gridiron this season. He has a career best completion percentage, over 69% completion percentage this year. However, when he's not completing those passes, 14 of which have gone to the opposing team. A career high, 14 interceptions. It's tied for the team lead. So how does that get back on track? That's the biggest question, but also how important is he to get back on track and crucial to the Cowboys' playoff success?
He's extremely important, and that's why we have to get this thing situated. We have to understand, how is this guy throwing these interceptions? Like, we look at it, and I'm not sure. I'll leave it up to my residential quarterback here, Isaiah, to answer it, but I don't know if it's his body language, the way he's throwing the ball and his ball placement, decision making, whatever the case may be. But the Cowboys have got to figure this interception crisis out, because it's the quickest way to go into the playoffs and be one and done.
Yeah, there's a handful of things that's causing him to throw an interception. One of them is identification of coverage. And then off of that identification of coverage, what do you do with that information? Do you just make the right decision to throw the ball to the person, or do you try to force it? Are you overly confident in your receivers? And then you just have to look at the standpoint of his offensive line. He's getting sacked a lot more than he had been early on in the year as well because of the musical chairs up front. So he's starting to have a lot more happy feet and not settling in with his mechanics.
Yes, we need to do that. We need Coach Philbin need to get with his offensive line, make sure this kid have a clean pocket. It ain't the sacks that kill, it's the hurries and the late hits that gets the quarterback off his target. But hey, I'm going to have to go with you on the thing with the quarterback, because I can never throw a football.
Nate, not going to do that one. But, hey, if you're throwing the football, CeeDee Lamb's probably going to end up catching. He has been fantastic as of late. 3 straight 100-yard games. Of course, he's the third player in Cowboys franchise history over 100 receptions in a season. Isaiah, when you look at CeeDee Lamb, has he started to kind of creep into the conversation of a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL?
I think he's crept up the list, but I can't say that I'm putting him in the top 5. I know when this year started, I definitely didn't have him even in the top 15. I now will throw him in the top 15 because he stepped up and started making plays. He stepped up in terms of his leadership and his approach to the game. But when you start talking about top 5, I mean, you got guys Tyreek Hill, you got Justin Jefferson, you got Devontae Adams. I mean, there's Jamar Chase. There's a lot of guys in this league that can run routes and catch balls, and they can do it at a high caliber. I'm not sure that I'm willing to put him in that top 5 yet.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, he's playing at an unbelievable level right now, and I love how Kellen Moore has gotten him all over the formation, whether it's playing outside, playing in slot. Like I said earlier, he's becoming a headache for most defenses out there. But when you talk about top 5, those names that you just said there, I mean, I got to respect them, and I got to put them above CeeDee Lamb. But he is quickly becoming one of those top upper echelon type receivers out there, and by next year, I can see him creeping into that top 5 category.
And he's competing. I said at the beginning of the year, give this kid time to grow into the position. And he's grown tremendously. And what I need for y'all to understand that if he catch 9 passes, he'll be a top 5 guy.
Yeah, hey, there you go, to get up and break the franchise record that we talked about earlier. By the way, there are only 6 wide receivers in the entire NFL, 6 of which that have more receiving yards than CeeDee Lamb. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, the 3 guys Isaiah mentioned a moment ago, A.J. Brown, of course, with Philly, Stephon Diggs in Buffalo, and Jalen Waddle in Miami. Those are the only guys out of the entire league that have more yards than CeeDee Lamb. So at the moment, he's 7th in that regard. Travis Kelce has more as a tight end, but there's still guys up there that he has to pass, but most of his production has been late. So keep that in mind if he can build that momentum heading into next year. But what about the guys around him? Who needs to step up out of the Michael Gallups of the world and the T.Y. Hiltons, some of these tight ends? Barry, who do you want to see take that next step heading into playoff time?
He's already taken a lot of steps, in my opinion, and that's T.Y. Hilton. I mean, when you look at what this guy is doing, he affects his offense in a multitude of ways. He still has the burners to be able to get over top of that defense and take the top off the defense, but he's also become one of that kind of like a security blanket, kind of like how Dalton Schultz is out there for Dak Prescott. He's the receiver version of it. He's able to get those underneath catches, those middle, those hard defense catches, and turn them into first downs. I mean, this guy with the ball in his hands is definitely spectacular. And I'm surprised that that this guy has been able to be found this late in the season. So to me, I'm definitely saying T.Y. Hilton, he's the guy that they need to rely on a little bit more.
Yeah, in terms of relying on guys, I'm going to go ahead and go with the man that they tagged as the franchise player of the year, and that's going to be Dalton Schultz. I think that he needs to do more. Obviously, he's not performing at the levels that he did last year, which is the reason why they tagged him, right? They weren't willing to make the commitment to him contractually yet in terms of long term. But I think the lack of production that he's had this year has had an adverse effect over Dak Prescott, because now you're starting to see turnover issues with Dak. You start to see him forcing the ball down the field. Before, last year, he didn't have those issues. Why? Because he had his man underneath that he could dump it off to within 12 yards. He's missing that element, and that's why we're starting to see a lot more turnovers as well.
Yeah, if you could have just a little bit of an added element into that offense with Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott maybe playing a little bit better, you feel so much more confident about it if some of these receivers can step up and play better. Speaking of stepping up, the NFL community and the football community have stepped up this week in support and prayers for Damar Hamlin, the Bills safety who suffered a cardiac arrest in the Monday Night Football matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. This was an incident that it struck close to everybody that is a football fan. And, of course, our prayers are still out there with Damar and his family. He is in good spirits. He's continuing to recover. We want to keep hearing the positive updates from out there in Cincinnati where he is recovering and still in critical condition. But as it struck close to home for everybody that's here and everybody that is a fan of the game of football, it also struck home very close to an actual Dallas Cowboy as well. And our very own Haley Sutton has more.
Well, it has been such a tough week for everybody in the NFL after that devastating injury to Damar Hamlin earlier in the week. Thankfully, he's on the road to recovery. He is up. He is smiling. He was watching the game with his family in the hospital earlier today. So exciting as his progress continues to improve each and every day. Now, we had the opportunity to speak with one of his former teammates at the University of Pittsburgh in Quadri Olesen, who said all he wanted to do was to let his former teammate know that he loves him.
Well, first and foremost, I want to send my deepest prayers to Damar and his family, his father, his mother Nina, his little brother Demir, who really Damar is one of the best big brothers I've seen, and if you see how his little brother Demir looks up to him and idolizes him, you'd understand. But honestly, it's heartbreaking to see something like that, but I'm also confident in him. I know who he is. I know how strong he is. I know where he comes from. So I'm also confident, and I know he'll be okay. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. It was tragic. It was sad to see it, but I knew, I know my brother, and I know he's gonna get up. So, yeah.
Did you talk to the family at all for the last couple of days?
Yeah, obviously, just extending my prayers. Let them know that I'm praying about him, I'm thinking about him, and he's gonna be all right.
You could talk to him right now. What would you say?
I texted him and I told him I love him. And that's what I would tell him if I could talk to him right now. I'd let him know I love him, and I can't wait to see him, see him back around, smiling, being himself.
Of course, we are so thankful that Damar continues to improve each and every day, and we're thankful for Quadri for being able to speak so openly about his friendship with Damar. Here in the studio, I'm Haley Sutton. I'll send it back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Haley. Of course, prayers still out there for Damar Hamlin moving forward. His Buffalo Bills taking on the New England Patriots today. The opening play of the game, 93 yards. Nyheim Hines took it all the way back for a touchdown in Buffalo. Crowd erupted. It was a chills moment. It really was. God is good in that regard, and you could see that from miles and miles away down here in Frisco, Texas. That was a Hall of Fame type moment.
Yes, it was.
To have Hines run it back for 93 yards. But we had some actual Hall of Fame moments earlier in the week as they announced the Pro Football Hall of Fame class finalists of 2023, three of which were Dallas Cowboys. Chuck Howley, of course, a senior finalist, former Super Bowl MVP. Then you've got Darren Woodson, who played with our guy Nate Newton off to the edge. DeMarcus Ware, who played with both Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback. Three guys that wore the star on their side of their helmet better than anybody else really did. That's why they are senior finalists and modern-day finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Barry, I'll start with you. You got a chance to play with DeMarcus Ware. What are some of your favorite stories around D. Ware?
Well, D. Ware, he's one of the best men that I've ever been around, both on and off the field. He's the type of guy that will take his shirt off his own back and give it to a person. And then you talk about, the knowledge that he had in the game. And he didn't hoard it all to himself. He didn't care if you were a first-round pick or an undrafted guy. He was teaching those guys each and every aspect of the game to make them feel like as though they can be as good as he is. So that guy is unbelievable in my heart. And then you talk about Darren Woodson and the ability to change the safety position. Nate Newton, you talked about it earlier in this week, his ability to play deep safety, but also come down and be that nickel back. He was kind of the first safety to be able to do that. So all three of these gentlemen much deserved, and I hope they get in.
Both of these guys are just model citizens. When you look it up in the encyclopedia, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a picture of both of these guys, whether they're football players or just regular humans. They're in that light in every element that they exist in. The fact that both of these guys are now up for the Hall of Fame, I think obviously Woody should have been in there. If you ask my opinion, he should have been in there a long time ago. And D. Ware, his time as well.
I watched Chuck Howley play, man. Great man, great gentleman. I hope your family the best. He's going through trying times right now, so mentally. But for Darren Woodson and DeMarcus Ware, this is what I do not understand. You have all of them that's Super Bowl winners. In some cases, multiple Super Bowl winners, guys that affected the team. Woody lined up everybody on the front end and the back end. He played safety. He played all four special teams. He walked up and slot. John Taylor, the 49ers, he did this. Where? can drop back, cover backs coming out of the backfield, sacks after sacks after sack, has a Super Bowl. Why would the Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, deprive the Dallas fans and the nation of these three guys? It's long overdue. Do the right thing.
I love exactly what you said there because everything was so true. All three of the guys, the senior finalists in Chuck Howley, DeMarcus Ware, and Darren Woodson. I agree with you, Isaiah. I think both of those guys should have been. Yeah. I think DeMarcus Ware even got disservice last year with not being a first ballot Hall of Fame nominee or finalist, I should say. So hopefully those guys get in this time around. Oh, yeah. And everything is set right with the world. So we'll keep that in mind. But before we continue to give our keys to the game between Washington and Dallas, let's go back out to FedEx Field, where Nick Eatman now catches up with Cowboys COO Stephen Jones.
Thank you, Kyle, and I'm joined, as always, by Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. One of us has dressed appropriately for the weather here, and one of us really hasn't. But either way, it's going to be warm down on the field for these guys. I mean, it feels pretty electric. A lot of Cowboy fans here. We seem to say that every week. But what's your focus point for this game? Is it just getting the win and playing well heading into the playoffs?
I think the biggest thing is to continue to improve, in terms of our consistency from start to finish. I think we've made some big strides in some areas, whether it's penalties, whether it's turning the ball over in terms of the defense making plays on the ball. Obviously we could use some improvement on protecting the ball, and I just want to see us go out there and play consistency and continue to sharpen our game as we head toward the tournament, if you will.
Where are you with Dak in terms of wanting him to stay aggressive, also smart with the ball? Do you like the way he's playing, even though there are some turnovers here and some interceptions lately?
Absolutely. Dak's going to handle this. No one knows it better than him. No one works at it harder than he does. As we all know, some of those picks aren't always attributable to him. I know he'll take the blame because that's just the way he is. But Dak knows how to play this game as well as anybody. No one works harder at improving on where he is than Dak. The other day I think he said he feels as good as he's ever felt. And I just feel like, go out there, clean some of that up, play Cowboys football, and be consistent throughout the game. Good things will happen to this football team.
How about your offensive line? Tyler Biadasz is out this week. Just from the center position and even at left guard, are you going to be interested to see kind of what happens there? And is that something that maybe you'll have to use in the playoffs as well, depending on what happens at center?
Well, you just never know. Everybody loves the consistency of having the same five guys in the right spot, but we also know you want your five best guys out there, and sometimes those two can meet a crossroads or a compromise, if you will. But I have a lot of confidence in this group of linemen. They're versatile, which is what you look for in a lineman. Certainly Tyron's done a great job of doing everything that we ask. Certainly we feel good about where Tyler is in his rehab process and his ability to come back and play for the playoffs. So overall feel good about the line.
All right, the team has to be focused on this game. When you're in the suite and watching, you got another game on? You going to be scoreboard watching it all?
We always do a little bit of that. But the main focus will be on this game. But I promise you, in between plays, there'll be some peeking going on and seeing what's going on. But we can only control what we can control, which is go out and improve as we head toward the playoffs, bring more consistency to our game, and the rest will have to take care of itself.
Well, one way or another, either going to be sitting at home, which will be warmer than this, AT&T Stadium warmer than this, and Tampa warmer than this. So either way, it's going to be warmer, but obviously you want to be at home.
It'd be great to be at home. Our fans deserve it, but hats off to the Eagles. They put themselves in the position here to control their destiny, and we just have to continue to go to work every day.
All right, let's get another win here. That's Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. Kyle, we'll throw it back to you guys.
Okay, so Nick outlined with Stephen Jones there a couple of the playoff scenarios, but we're all about positivity here. Yes. How about at home, as in the crib, as in kicking your feet up next week with the wild card round bye?
Yes.
I like that idea better as well, outside of playing at AT&T Stadium and then, of course, on the road
and then
against
seeing us at the stadium. Come on, man. That's really the reason why y'all need to come through. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly right. Again, watch party details to be delivered throughout the week if the Cowboys play on the road. If not, it's a watch party at AT&T Stadium when they take on either Green Bay, Seattle, Detroit. Lots to unfold here over the next couple hours. However, The Cowboys and Commanders, you got to get a win first before things can really start to domino after that. What's your key to the game? Cowboys getting win number 13.
Offensively, play mistake-free football. Do not turn the ball over, especially getting ready to get into the playoffs. Defensively, let's get that pass rush going. Let's get these guys trending in the right direction. Playoffs are right around the corner. We need both facets to have success in that realm.
Get back on track. Get back on track. Don't turn the ball over. Get your rushing attack back, and then don't allow them to get any kind of yardage in the air, please.
Keep the penalties down like you have been doing. Take care of the ball. Offensive line, you have to play well. This thing, the playoffs is all about your quarterback. You have to play well for Dak to succeed.
There you go. Offensive line, limit the turnovers, get back on track because it's the end of the regular season, the final game of the NFL calendar. It's time for playoffs after this one, but the Cowboys got to get the job done at FedEx Field in Washington. 3:25 kickoff on Fox. For Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, Haley Sutton, Nick Eatman, and our entire DallasCowboys.com crew, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long. Let's have some fun. It's nearly playoff time. Final week is here.